What's up, everybody? This is Brian Davidson, and you are listening to the NIL Spotlight podcast brought to you by NIL Game Plan, your number one source for NIL news and, more importantly, education across all collegiate sports. Let's get after it. Sam Green is the founder of AthleteCon and one of the most practical and influential voices in athlete branding and content creation. Sam's journey started as a dancer at UNC Charlotte. After her athletic career, she worked as a video editor at ESPN, became an athlete agent, and developed into a leading content advisor for athletes, universities, and brands. Fresh off of the AthleteCon 3.0 in Las Vegas, which brought together hundreds of student athletes and dozens of brands, Sam joins us to discuss her evolution from athlete to entrepreneur, what she's learned building AthleteCon, and where she believes the NIL industry is going next. Sam, thanks for joining.
Brian, thanks for having me.
Let's rewind a little bit. Before you became an entrepreneur, you were an athlete. Talk to us about your journey getting to Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm from Charlotte, so it was kind of an easy pick right there. They had a great dance program. A lot of the girls that I grew up competitively dancing with were on the team, and so we kind of had this pact to kind of go dominate the collegiate dance space together, and we did that. And luckily, Charlotte's big for sports. So my sophomore year, I tried out for the NBA for the Honeybees, the Charlotte Hornets dance team. So sophomore year kind of made the transition into the professional side. So definitely had my fair share of experience in dance at a young age here in Charlotte, which was great. And at the end of the day was really the founding kind of piece that opened up my eyes to, the other side of the industry, the other side of the business, and ultimately is really how I got started, to where I am today.
Well, professional dance requires athleticism, performance, entertainment, representing an organization publicly. Looking back, when did you start to realize that you were part of a larger brand?
It's a really good question, Brian. You almost, when you're on a team, and I think a lot of athletes can, attest to this, especially at the collegiate side, collegiate level, you don't even like realize that you're backing the brand because all of a sudden you start looking around and we're all, you know, working together for that win or working together, to accomplish this new trick or X, Y, and Z. And we're hitting a lot of milestones together that's when it kind of clicked. So we went to, the national competition for all the dancers kind of across the nation. And we were working like tirelessly to really go represent the school at this competition. And that's where it's like, oh, wow, like you really do have a logo on your chest that, is bigger than just, your individual performance at the end of the day.
Well, you famously talked about deleting your Instagram account after leaving the NBA and looking back later and realizing that was a mistake. When did you start to understand how valuable that audience was?
To give myself some credit, social media wasn't as big back then, not to age myself, but, Instagram for the most part was pretty much still kind of like the photo app, reels and content, like the creator economy wasn't really as full blown
Sure.
as it is now. The monetization piece was very, very low. So you weren't really seeing a lot of athletes or influencers creating a full blown business out of, their digital presence. And so to me, I was like, ugh, I'm burnt out. I'm done. Deleted it. And then quite like literally like a few months after was like, no way. I just lost that whole fan base because it was truly just burnout. It wasn't like, oh, I hate this. I never want to do it again. It was just like, where I was at, I felt like I was posting what other people wanted to see and not really what I wanted to post. And once I had kind of that break from social media, I really realized like what the heck I just did. And I left like the team to go pursue media. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to start all the way over. My name is no longer tied to the NBA or to this larger fan base or this larger audience. Now I realize I want to get into media. I have to have a digital presence to climb the ranks and to really get my name out there. And now I'm starting from zero. And so the impact was actually, pretty pivotal from a career standpoint. But I guess now I have the story to tell.
Well, what would you tell an athlete today that's facing maybe some sort of burnout around social or that sort of thing? Just,
Uh,
take the app off their phone for a little bit and call it a day and bring it back when they're ready?
that for sure. The doom scrolling is what will kill you. Like at the end of the day, like it's the comparison culture most times. Like when I sit down with an athlete and I'm like, well, how are you using social media? What are you using it for? What do you not like about it? And it's getting on social media, seeing everybody else's highlight reel, and you're really comparing your back end rough, bad day that nobody else sees to their highlights. And so that's
Hmm.
where I really see a lot of athletes get burnt out. So I try and tell them, like, instead of like doom scrolling for 10 minutes, I actually try and tell them, like, find a healthier habit or a healthier hobby. Like, literally put your phone down and either watch TV, journal, something, meditate, like music, whatever it is. Because you don't realize like how toxic that is, especially most are doing it right before they go to bed. And so that's what you're putting into your subconscious when you're going to bed at night is, oh my gosh, look at her, him, and look at what they achieved. And you're going to bed, like programming your brain that you're not enough. So you can delete the app, you can put it down, but more than anything, it's like the constant healthy habits. There's apps that kind of lock you out of social media for X amount of
Hmm.
time. And then I really encourage them to sit down and like map out like what they're using social for, because then you can kind of tailor your strategy around it. So, is it for business? Do you want to become a creator? Do you want to become an influencer and go viral? Like, then it kind of tailors like when and how you also use social media in a healthy way.
Well, you did rebuild your entire follower account and all the people, your Instagram and across all the socials. How do you go about getting started and restarting from scratch?
Yeah, it took a while because again, like I left the dance team, wanted to go into sports reporting. And so then I started doing a lot of like interviews and social media kind of interviewing professional athletes behind the scenes on their stories. And I thought that that's what I wanted to do. And then I kind of was like, man, I'm still getting burnt out on this. Like what's going on? And I really then, sat myself down and was like, what do you want to do? And I realized it wasn't I didn't wanna tell the athlete stories, I wanted to teach them how to tell their own stories. So the minute that I got real with myself and where I wanted my career to go was the minute that it got easier. And, I'm not overly consistent. I'm not this influencer that has millions of followers, it's posting a million times a day. I asked myself, what's my goal? And it was to truly, help people at the end of the day. So I just started, I was helping behind the scenes a lot of athletes develop their brands into businesses and helping them learn how to monetize. And it started working. And so I decided to take to social media to just give out free advice and free education. Cause I'm like, if I've helped one person, now I have a digital opportunity for my tips to get out there to a wider audience. Why not help more? And so that's literally, I just had was like, whatever, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I enjoy. I enjoy teaching athletes. And so started putting out free advice and then everything else kind of developed. I didn't sit down and map out a business plan, which is probably not the best advice. I didn't have this crazy, huge plan. It all started to kind of like come inbound. A lot of big brands like Nike calling or Twitch streaming calling, a lot of these big universities calling me with only, I still only have 15,000 on Instagram. So that's my point to all these athletes that have this misconception that you have to be, famous or an influencer or overly viral to convert something into, a bigger plan. And so, yeah, it just really started with free education at the end of the day.
It starts there a lot, especially in the marketing space. Your time at ESPN, what did that teach you about storytelling and the importance of it for an athlete and a brand?
Yeah, so, I really got to see all sides of the business. So I was an editor, so I was on the back end a lot. And then, I was helping create and produce what goes actually on air. And I was on a bunch of different shows, Sports Center, Top Plays, College Game Day, you name it. I was even helping clip story pieces for some of, the famous reporters for their social media content as well. And so I really saw all sides of the landscape. And there's a lot of shows dedicated truly to just analytics. And that's where I was like, I was sick of it. And that's half of why I got into the interviewing side and the content creation side was because I liked that storytelling pieces. And so, even if you look at the data on the back end, a lot of the shows that perform the best are the ones that, are actually telling these athletes stories beyond just their analytics. So, performance on the field, on the court, whatever your sport is, will only get you so far no matter what. You can be the best of the best of the best of the best. And at the end of the day, that's still going to end when your name's not on that roster. And so storytelling at any level is really how, you build something that's really going to last.
Let's pivot to AthleteCon. What was the moment when you decided, one, this concept should exist, and then two, I should create it?
Looking back, I'd been to every single event in the space. So I've been to over 20 universities, really helping athletes build and monetize their brand, and it started to work. I've been helping non revenue generating female athletes land car deals, which is crazy. And then I'd been to every event in the industry because of my experience at the university level, whether it was emceeing or speaking on panels. And I was looking around like, there'd be athletes in the audience like basically sleeping or, leaving the room. And I just started to like dig into like why. And, then you watch the programming, and the programming that's on the stage is just, people really trying to shove their own agenda down the athletes' throats to, make money off of them at the end of the day. And so everything was approached by money, money, money. How can I make money off the athletes? And then the events were about how can I make money off the brands. And simultaneously, I saw brands just getting their logo on a banner, and that was it at the end of the day. And when I was going to these schools, I was really teaching these athletes with a hands-on approach where I bring them an NIL deal, and we're going start to finish how to make a good advertisement for the brands. The brands were walking away with hundreds of advertisements, and the athletes were walking away, number one, with their first deal, and number two, with the skills and the tips to do it again and do it consistently and how to build and monetize their own brand. And so I was doing it, already at the masses at these schools that I'm like, somebody's got to do this. Like, but I was only going to one school at a time. So it'd be like 200
Hmm.
athletes at Texas. And I'm like, why don't I do this? Like, why don't I bring everybody together? Because the brands were thrilled because they're getting content out of it. The schools are thrilled because their athletes are actually learning how to make money outside of pay to play. And the athletes are thrilled because they've been dying to build their brand and they didn't know how to. And so I was like, why is no one doing this? And so I don't know that I knew that I was, really developing kind of the leading convention in the space at the time, but we're the first convention ever to facilitate brand deals in person, which is crazy to think about. So AthleteCon was really built to, just to be able to help reach more and to help develop more. And now just finishing off year three, it's turned into something bigger than what I imagined.
Speaking of deals, you mentioned car dealerships earlier, cars and student athletes, especially non-revenue student athletes. Do you have a favorite story of a deal that you helped facilitate?
Man, that's a good question. There really is so many, Brian. I mean, I just recently I've, helped an athlete get set up on streaming. Now they got accepted into a big streamer program and went from 3K to 100K subscribers in a month, like just seeing kind of their goals and their visions to, become a reality. The car deal scenario. I'm not an agent, like I'm not here to take a cut off the athlete. I help them develop strategies so that they can land those deals. So even if I'm helping facilitate, it's truly out of pure intent for them to kind of achieve their dream. And so there's just so many stories. I feel like I'm blessed because I'm not an agent, so to speak. I get to really see a lot of
Hmm.
deals and facilitation because I'm kind of just that support arm. So, the car deal was a fun one because, the young girl was, dreaming of it for years, obviously. And the cool part was, most of the guys on the football team didn't have a car deal yet. And, that's kind of the good side of NIL that a lot of people don't talk about enough is kind of providing that equal opportunity if you're willing to work for it. So car deal was cool. One earlier on in my career, was an athlete had maybe 5,000 followers and was dying for Quest Nutrition, who had 1 million followers on Instagram, which is like, okay, this is going to be a big feat. This was going to be her first brand deal ever. We're going for a national brand. And why I liked this deal was because how she was able to land the deal was I gave her the advice to don't wait around. Like, that's such a big brand. It's going to take you a while to really get on their radar, like pitching them and sending them stuff. Like, you're just going to be overlooked right now if you're not a fan of the brand. So, we went out and we built out this strategy for her to make content and actually collaborate with the brand in advance. And it worked. A lot of people were like, don't make her post for free before she gets the deal. But it actually worked. It converted into a cash deal. And every month she's getting the new flavors of whatever Quest product line is launched to really be able to share with her audience kind of their new product line. And, it turned into a longer term deal, which is always my goal for these athletes. So honestly, Brian, it's a good question. I should probably think on it and get back to you with a solid answer because there's a lot of good ones.
Well, reportedly, you raised the money for the first AthleteCon in just 2 months. Who did you approach? Was it an immediate hit? Did you sell people on the idea, or was it sort of a slow burn?
Yeah, your one was crazy. Like looking back, it's almost like it was like a blessing and meant to be that I didn't like have too much of a plan because like logically everybody was like you're insane and I was and I still am. I mean, every year I've been mainly the one kind of bringing in this money very, very, quickly. But year one, I had built enough credibility in the industry, going school to school. I've met enough people along the way. I brought enough brands into the universities that I just started calling people that I knew, like that had NIL companies in the space that really needed like their demographic or their target audience was athletes and they needed, the athletes in the room. Those were kind of like a lot of tech platforms that were actually like resourcing and developing athletes were kind of my first call. Yeah, it's 2 months, did the whole thing, like, on the whim, and just lucky that people kinda saw the vision right away. Uh, I didn't I had no pushback, everyone was like, "Wow, I can't believe this doesn't exist," and so, definitely a blessing that I still can't believe I really, like, just went out and did that.
I'll ask this next question in two ways. What was either the hardest part of building AthleteCon or the biggest lesson you learned along the way?
Man, I'd say well, the hardest part is, year 1, I was doing it completely, like, on my own, like, I didn't go for a round of funding, I wasn't backed by, a crap ton of money, I just was like, "Ah, I want this thing to work," and I went and just did it, so the bootstrapping side was super scary and super, super risky, and thankfully, I'm in a different scenario now, but that, uh that first time was like everything was on the line and nobody could have showed up. I mean, it could have been, a disaster of an idea that just didn't work and it would have been done publicly and financially, which would have been hard. So that risk was super scary, but I just knew deep down like, after being in the industry so long, like that this there was truly a need. I had like full belief that like this was going to solve a problem. So I was almost delusional in chasing that dream. I've learned everything, Brian. Like, I feel like there's not one thing. I mean, it has taught me so much. Number one thing would probably be learning how to delegate. I grew AthleteCon because I wanted it done. Like, I felt like I understood athletes and I felt like I understood their needs and their wants. And I felt like there was a lot of people in the industry that were just trying to make money off of them. And I was very protective over, like, no, we're not doing things this way because that's using the system or that's using them. And it just was never my intent. Same thing with the brands. I was never the one to just be, if there was a brand that I felt like had ill intent, I wasn't taking the check, like, I don't care, like, nope, like and so that, taught me a lot because then a lot became was on my plate because I wanted it done a certain way, and year 1, I mean, every graphic, I was building the website, I was booking every hotel, I was booking every flight because I was OCD and wanted it done correct, but learning how to delegate was one of the hardest lessons, but one of the most important lessons that I've learned.
That's true for almost everyone, I would say, starting out in business. Let's talk about NIL in a little larger context. When should athletes and student families start thinking about the NIL process?
As soon as I can. People are like people think it's crazy that like middle school parents are already thinking about it and why is it crazy? It is a complete reality. Back in the day, parents or even now in middle school, parents are already thinking about how to get their kid to the D1 level or to the pro level. It's the same thing with the NIL, and it gets a bad reputation because people think, oh, you're going to basically extort your kid on social media for them to make money and X, Y, and Z. And it's like, listen, guys, like this is the reality. Like your kid's either gonna get paid to play, and if so, then great, But if not, like you gotta learn how to make money off of this thing. It's right in front of you, and there's opportunity and there's money on the table, on the line, where your kid could be set up for success and never have to work a day in their life if they do it right. And so you can never start early enough. Now, are there steps and are there phases and is there a piece of strategy that I recommend on how to phase into it? Yes. Like, do I think that you need to have a complete, YouTube channel for your kid at 8 years old? No. Like, there's still a level of let the kid be a kid. Let them enjoy the game, let them play the game. But as a parent, there's just steps that you can already go and start setting up and establishing for your child at a very young age that is only going to make their life easier and they're going to be hugging you and thanking you by the time they get to the collegiate level. I've also seen it the opposite where parents are driving it so hard at a young age that it turns the kid off and they really do just want to be a kid and they feel like they're already being turned into a business or they're already making content and logos and websites and it's like takes the point out of it. It's supposed to be fun along the way. So there is a fine balance, but I think the earlier that you can at least get some steps put into place, the better.
Okay. And what do you think parents or student athletes get wrong about NIL?
A lot of them think it's either just pay to play and you have to be the quarterback at, the D1 school, the SEC, the ACC to make money, which is wrong, is that and people think like, oh, that's the easier way. It just came to them. No, because they're also still the best at their sport and they had to work extremely hard to be the best. So that's how they're getting their money. But that's not the reality for every athlete, right? Not everybody can be the best. Not everybody can be the quarterback at the end of the day. And so that leaves, a 90% range of everybody else. And, some of my athletes that are making the most money are the non revenue generating athletes. It's strategy. The other misconception that a lot of people have on NIL is that it has to only be social media, like that you can only be an influencer and you have to be viral. There are many ways to monetize off of your NIL that don't include, just flashy content and advertisements. So I think people don't understand that this is a business. And if you structure NIL like a business, you can really develop it any which way you want and still be successful at it.
And speaking of a business, do you recommend that student athletes and families look at starting an LLC at a young age?
1000%. 1000%. It blows my mind that not every college athlete even has an LLC. But yeah, even at a young age, I mean, the expenses, if you think about it like that, you are investing into your kids, and to teach your kids that too, like not just to run it for them, right? But to get them involved at a younger age so they're learning these skills to develop the parents that I'm seeing, really sit down with them and teaching them a budget and teaching them about taxes and teaching them about an LLC and write offs and this and that, like, and teaching what's an investment versus not and where to put your money are the ones that just get it. And then by the time they're in college and their brains are, developing and they're already there, like, and they have the resources that they never had before and they have the fan base and the eyes, they're the ones that just immediately just shoot right to the top.
Let's talk back about female and non revenue sports. In some ways, I think they actually have an edge in certain types of NIL deals. Can you talk about that a little bit?
They definitely do. There's a market for that, right? So some products, there's like a bag company called Sideline Bags, and it was like a mom that
I thought
created
you
this.
said bad company.
No, bag company, like a purse company, basically. She built it to solve a problem for female athletes because a lot of them, need hair ties or, a makeup wipe or X, Y, and Z, and it's stuffed in the bottom of, their bag. Like they're targeting female athletes, non-revenue generating one. Like, so there's definitely brands out there that that's their target market. So from your perspective, like you're exactly spot on that sometimes it is actually an advantage. I would also say there's less media attention on it, which can also be positive because you can actually like pave your own way and be like almost the face of your entire sport, which I is like one of my favorite things in the world to do is when an athlete that's non-rev will sit down with me. They're like dying to build their brand. They have this whole plan and nobody in their sport is really coming out in front of it or speaking about it or bringing eyes or attention to it. There's a ton of opportunity in rolling up your sleeves and kind of paving the way within your sport.
Okay, we'll finish with a couple fun ones. First, how do you see student athletes and families starting to leverage AI in either their content creation or their overall strategy?
Man, Brian, that is a fabulous question. So, when I was editor at ESPN, I would spend an 8-hour shift to make a 2-minute video. That's the reality of like how fast things have advanced. I left, and back then there was no phone apps to even learn how to edit. There was one app that had templated videos for Instagram stories only, and I was piecing all these templates together to make a quicker video to speed things up. And now with AI, I mean, number one, like building out that strategy, sitting down and spending some time with all of these tools to talk to it and to tell it about, your goals and your vision and your plan, and it really helps you build out a structure that sometimes skips months of work just by helping you lay it out and lay out plans for your kids. Just all the tools, even, with AI clippings now that does the video edit. I mean, it saves hours and hours. So I think that that's another controversial topic. A lot of people hate on NIL and kind of see it from a different lens, and a lot of people are hating on AI. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, let's use these things for our advantage because if you use them correctly, it can be life changing. It really can. And so I'm actually excited to see the AI world develop for these athletes because they're busy. They are so busy that they deserve to be able to build their brand, but still be a student athlete and still have somewhat of a social life. There's not enough time in the day. And so these AI tools are going to help them speed up that process.
Well, speaking of life changing, we look 3 years into the future. What's going to separate the athletes that collected a few checks from the ones that truly changed their lives?
It comes down to figuring out what you wanna do. I always say that's step number 1, and it seems cheesy, but your goal, even if it is to go to the professional, league or professional level, like, that's not enough because that's still gonna end. So, what's really gonna separate the athletes is the ones that sat down, defined their goal, and then built it immediately right along the way. So, again, it's the ones that are starting merch lines that can go with you no matter what. It's the ones wanting to run camps and clinics and lessons and built out a website and we're taking, Zoom lessons during their season, during their off days. It's the ones that are truly approaching this like a business and developing it like a business.
What's coming for AthleteCon 4.0?
Brian, we got a lot in the works. A few weeks away from announcing dates and locations. It's still in June. I'm having fun kind of rotating the locations. So we're in a new state this year, which is going to be very, very fun. Just bigger and better, Brian. More brands. Really working hard on developing our curriculum. So a lot of breakout sessions, a lot of hands-on tools and tactics for both these athletes, the brands, as well as the college administrators. So been developing a lot of the new curriculum, which I'm excited to launch. Been on the search for the right partners and the right brands for next year. And hopefully, just be able to service a lot more athletes at the end of the day.
Well, as an attendee this year with NIL Game Plan, I could tell you it was really, really amazing. And I think it was even more amazing looking at those student athletes and seeing their eyes light up. So,
Well,
true
thank you,
feather in your
Brian.
cap.
We were thankful to
Sam,
have you guys there.
Sam, where can we send people to find you on the web?
Sam B. Green is my Instagram handle. It's probably the easiest way, or you can always look up our website, athletecon.io as well.
Sam, thanks so much for being on the program today. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Thanks for listening to the NIL Spotlight podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to visit nilgameplan.com to get started on your NIL journey for free. We'll see you next week.